It is time. It is time for main topic number 2. It is time for us to give our full spoilers discussion on WandaVision episode 7. This is another episode that I have like a shit ton of notes. There's so much to unpack in this episode. There were so many theories that we came up with Chris and Ray, our previous guests, that actually came true. And then there were a lot of things, well, not a lot. There was like one or two things, two theories that I had that were debunked, right? So one of my theories was I thought due to her trauma, Wanda brought Pietro from another part of the multiverse to replace her brother in this universe. We now know that that's not true at all. We know now that Agatha Harkness created this version of Pietro to get under Wanda's skin.
But
So
I would take that theory on my side correct because I kind of was right about that when I said it 2 weeks ago. So I'll take that like half point. I'll take the half credit right now. I'll take like, you know what? I'll take the half credit for me saying it because 2 weeks ago I said like, I think it's Agnes or somebody working. So because I said it's probably Nightmare or maybe Mephisto's doing the work and maybe Agnes working with them. So that's why I say I take the half credit because Wanda said when Vision asked who's at the door. And me working now, knowing more about production and everything, writing is key. And when you know that writing is good, she said, this is not me doing it. I don't know who that is. So it shows that she had no power or knowledge of her accessing or doing this. So it maybe wasn't her or maybe was her subconscious. But she said herself, like, this is not me. So maybe the writing was not really lying to us in that moment. And it shows it wasn't lying to us because it shows that what James is saying, Agnes was the one that did it with her magic. And that's why, in case people wonder, her magic is purple because to show that if she's doing the magic, it's purple because she's doing it and Wanda's red. So that's for the visual aspect. But James, go ahead.
yeah, my other theory on Pietro was that he was a creation of Mephisto or Nightmare. So I kind of want to start there and then just kind of like work our way back throughout the episode.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think there's just so much shit to talk about with Agatha Harkness and Wanda and Pietro and the possibilities between Mephisto and Nightmare. Because I was talking to Chris and Vash right before the show, and I'm starting to think, the more and more that I think about it, I'm starting to think that it's actually Nightmare more than Mephisto. And I'll go into my explanation with that. The reason why I think it could be more Nightmare than Mephisto, even though I do think Mephisto is still involved in some way, Nightmare is a being that rules over the dream dimension, right? So in the last episode, we also talked about the fact that I think Wanda made a deal with Agatha or with one of these devils to get Vision back and to make this world, which is also another reason why I think Vision isn't able to leave. Vision is a part of what made this world a reality. I think Wanda's wish was to have a happy life with her husband, and Vision was a catalyst to the hex being created. So that's why he can't leave and he's constantly being pulled in. So because of the hex, everyone is technically in some type of dream state. So with Nightmare being in control of the dream dimension, he could have granted Wanda's wish, but in return, when you take over this entire city, when you take over this entire place of Westview, all of these people that are asleep in this dream world, I now get to feed off of them. And Agatha is pushing Wanda to expand the hex over the entire planet so that Nightmare can then feed on the dreams, feed on the astral forms of all of the people within the hex that now cover the entire planet. So that is one reason why I think it's Nightmare. But it could also be Mephisto because Agatha was after the kids. We all know that the kids, Wiccan and Speed, were what's the term? I think it's like soul fragments of Mephisto. So it would make sense that Mephisto would come after the kids. You know what I mean? So Agatha could be working for multiple demons. It could be Nightmare. It could be Mephisto. Like, I don't know. Again, the more and more I think about it, I'm leaning more towards Nightmare, simply because of the dream dimension aspect.
So it's very entertaining to hear James speak about this because the way I vision the way James processes is right now is like he's stuck in a road. He's trying to decide, should I go left, should I go right? Should I go left or should I go right? So he's like trying to decide like, wait, but left is like some type of restaurant he loves. Let's have at McDonald's. And then for the right one, it's Burger King. He's like, damn, I'm in the mood for a Whopper. I'm in the mood for a nice bacon. And I don't know McDonald's food. I'm gonna just say McDonald's bacon. I don't know.
Bacon,
I'm
egg, and
near.
cheese McGriddle.
Okay, yeah, nice pun from last night, right there. So that's the way I see Jay's mindset. But also to add, I like how another theory of ours came true of how Agnes confirmed in her little nice montage of her killing Sparky. She confirmed like, I'm the one to kill Sparky too. I'm like,
That
we knew
bitch
that.
killed the dog. That
I was
bitch
right.
killed the dog.
I was right because I said it. I'm like, guys, I think she killed Sparky. And then you and Chris were like, damn, if she really did, that's kind of messed up. I was like, yo, guys, it's obvious. She literally said, oh, I found Sparky right here by my grass. Like, you really think we could believe that we found Sparky right by your grass? Like, really?
And I
No.
love the Wicked Witch of the West vibes. Like, she
Yes.
actually comes out with the dog. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too. Like, I love it, bro. Like, she is legit the Wicked Witch of the West. Another thing that we notice in the base in Agatha's basement, the book. There is a
Yes,
book
thank you for bringing that. Yep.
straight from the Sanctum Sanctorum in Doctor Strange. So
Yeah, because-
whatever devil she's working for, and whatever devil she's working for her, and whatever devil it is, whatever demon, they're using this book of spells to do whatever they're doing in this hex. Like, this show is amazing, man. Like, they're doing so many amazing things in this show. Like, it's absolutely insane. There's also a bunch of symbols on the walls.
Oh, yes, so
there's
symbols.
demon faces on the walls as well. So again, to Light's point, it could be Mephisto and Nightmare. It could even be more demons that Agatha Harkness is working with. Who knows?
And plus, Wanda should have really like the more down you go down that basement, you should realize this is not a regular basement because this is a house that has like a box. Houses only have a small basement. And the more deeper you went into, like, Wanda, you should be realizing, like, have your powers ready, have your hands ready, like, have to be prepared. But no, girls just kept wondering, like, oh, I'm gonna go through the Starkey, like, ranches here, nothing suspicious at all. I see a book looking from Doctor Strange movie. I'd be looking at these things, you know what? Something weird's going on here, but I'm not gonna question it. She just kept going through it, and then I'm not sure if Agnes controlled her mind because we did the shot of Agnes saying, like, oh, I've been doing all this, and then Wanda's face and her eyes become all purple. So I'm not sure if she put a spell on her or
Yeah,
if
she did.
Yeah, right. She did, right?
That was a great homage to when Wanda does it to Tony Stark in Age of Ultron. Well, not
Nice.
just Tony, but to everyone.
Yeah,
But
yes,
even
everyone.
I picked Tony because even down to the lighting of it, it looked so reminiscent of when she did it to Tony in Age of Ultron. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, because the
It
dark
was
lighting and
amazing.
everything.
Yeah. And yes, Chris totally called it that Agatha was faking it in the car. I thought it was a possibility because we all knew from episode 1 that Agnes was Agatha Harkness. We
We knew.
believed that from episode 1. And we all knew that because of her amazing powers, her powers as a sorceress is the reason why she was able to combat Wanda's powers. But now we know that Agatha has been running the whole thing. The show isn't WandaVision. The show is Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, because
Which
it's
is
funny.
amazing.
So to go back real quick to what you just added, in the Modern Family type of intro, it said WandaVision created by Wanda. Created by Wanda Maximoff. It's very interesting that I'm shocked that it didn't say like slash by Agnes to try to lead us. But then at the end of the episode is when they actually say, oh, this is actually all by Agnes herself because she's the one that created everything. And remember in episode 3 or 4 was it when the I think Sherbs is the one that had the chainsaw going through the door that was going through the fence. Yeah, Herb. That was going through the fence. It's because she took him out of the mine and was corrupting his mind even more.
Yeah, Chris, I can't get the song out of my head. It's been Agatha all along. I can't get the song out of my head. Nova, dude, if the full coven from the Salem witch trials, oh my god, that would be insane if that's something they're bringing into the MCU. This episode also gives us Easter eggs into Wanda potentially being the villain of Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man 3 in some degree, right? Because if Agatha is controlling Wanda now, she's now controlling the Hex. You know what I mean? So who knows if Doctor Strange will have to stop Wanda?
So to add to what you're saying, again going back to the middle, or like take 5 minutes before that, Monica Rambeau was right there fighting her and was saying, "Hey, Wanda, let me help you. Don't be portrayed as the villain." And then she said, "Maybe I already am the villain because I already have done all this. So maybe she has accepted all the mistakes that she's been doing already for the past week or so, because it's been 2 weeks because of Endgame." And Darcy was explaining this to Vision, and Vision's starting to understand that, oh, okay, because like, oh, I died, but then I got reborn because AK, our good purple friend Thanos, just brought back the time, and then he died again in front of Wanda herself. So Vision's starting to understand what's going on.
Yeah. Someone brought up House of M. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
definitely.
how's that?
Like House of M is all over this. Like in House of M, Wanda literally loses her mind and she has to be stopped. So it's like there's some really cool stuff in here. I would love to see Doctor Strange having to stop Wanda and then having to help her to go after whatever demons that Agatha is working for.
It's very interesting of how the whole cinematography is going for the basement as well. Like I just want to add my last quick thoughts for the basement for us to talk about the other stuff that happened in the much earlier episode. And the basement, the whole cinematography, the details about the demons, the signs, the symbols, and the book. They did a panel shot for the book for us to focus on it and know that would be a key point in episode 8 and 9. And that's going to be important in Doctor Strange as well. Because when we saw the Doctor Strange movie, there was, I think, 2 or 3 books missing. And it shows that this is one of the books that was missing.
Yeah. When I saw that book, I was like, dude, this is sick, man. Like this is ancient magic, ancient forbidden magic that shouldn't be used. So whatever it's being used for, it's a part of the hex, and I can't wait to get like the full story of it, man. It's gonna
And
be
then
dope.
to add more thoughts of what you said about Nightmare and about Mephisto. So my thoughts about this. I believe it's Nightmare as well, because if you have seen the cartoon show of Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, that me and James spoke about much earlier, that is voiced by Drake Bell, not Josh Bell, Drake Bell. And Ultimate Spider-Man, they have an episode, a 2-part episode with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man himself fighting Nightmare. And he puts the whole city of New York City to sleep because he feeds off people in dreams and in nightmares. And Spider-Man has to fight his idea of accepting Uncle Ben being dead and everything. But what Nightmare did not see coming is that Peter Parker already accepted that. But it's because that gives him the motivation that to not let that happen again to anybody else. So Wanda, I wonder if this is her accepting a vision instead. And would that break the spell? That'd be interesting because that's how it breaks the spell for usually for Nightmare powers. But not that this bit has.
I don't think
now,
it will.
That's the question. Not that that's been going on for days now. Nightmare has so much power now over the whole town, and now she expanded it, and they got more people within the hex. Like you said in the chat, say what happened if she puts the whole hex or around the whole world, and then puts it with a Nightmare, and Doctor Strange will say like, hey, what the hell's going on with my planet that I'm trying to protect? Like, what's going on here? What dark forces is being put in hand? So I believe it's Nightmare more than Mephisto, but like chat said, Light said, it could be both. We're not disagreeing. It could be both. Me and James are just putting theories out there. But like James said, it could be more than 2 people because we don't know. The Dark Realms, the Dark Powers has more than just one bad guy. So it could also be Dormammu. It could also be the guy that hates Doctor Strange, his type of nemesis. I can't remember his name.
Mordo.
Mordo, thank you. So
I don't think it's him. He wouldn't use forbidden magic. Like his whole thing is about stopping people from using forbidden magic.
Yeah, so it could be anybody, but I am with James. I'm more on the right side. I believe I'm about to go get a Whopper, and I believe it's Nightmare. That's what I believe for. But it could also be a Mephisto. Both of them working together. But I definitely believe it could be Nightmare. It's a possibility. Again, we will see you next Friday. 6 more days and some hours to find out who is.
Yeah, like there's so much to unpack. We have so much to talk about. But in chat, like I Guardians. I don't know who's running the account right now, if it's Edlin or Robbie, but they dropped in. Agatha was the nanny to Franklin Richards in the comics, so we could
Oh,
potentially see some type of tie-in. I think that would be
oh,
absolutely amazing to see. Um, I also think that it was Agatha stopping Vision because obviously Agatha knows that if Vision gets home, I think, like Vision would have the power to stop Wanda. You know what I mean?
oh
And
yeah.
that can't happen. Nova also brought up the red energy around the book that we saw in the basement. Now, I do agree with you. Like I do think it was also being covered with Wanda's energy because of whatever deal with whatever devil she made. It is now tied to that book, which I also think is tied to Vision in some way. Because again, there has to be a reason why he's being torn apart whenever he tries to leave the hex.
And plus, to add to that, I love it of how the kids ask, "Hey, where's Dad? Is he coming back home?" And the one that said, "Oh, he is made. He is made of vibranium. You're good guys, and you guys just like him. You guys have tough skin." I was like, "How does that make sense? Tough skin, vibranium. The kids are not even really
I'm
his."
thinking it was just
I'm
a
like,
joke.
"Yeah, me too." I'm like trying to question, like, "Okay, Wanda, sure, that makes total sense."
Okay, so I know we started off kind of like at the end of the episode because I there was so much that I
Oh
wanted to
yeah,
talk
trust me, I
about there.
totally understand.
But
Oh,
let's jump back to go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you see the mid credit scene?
Oh, of course I did.
Uh, Monica and Pietro, no lie, that type of jump scare did actually work on me. Like, because you know me, I'm kind of a bit scared of stuff, but I didn't expect that, and to happen with a mid credit scene in the 2000 type of era, it makes total sense. So with Modern Family type of theme and everything, so to see Monica going there, also, but then to see Pietro. That Pietro is not a good guy from what we know. So that means, is he stopping Monica or is he influenced Monica to go down there? That's the question.
I don't know because when you look at that mid credit scene, Monica's eyes turn purple. So that means that
Oh, didn't I notice that part?
yeah, that means Agatha has control of her. We don't know how long that's gonna last. We don't know if it's temporary, but she does have control of her to some degree. So
Okay.
someone else brought up that the fly could potentially be linked to Beelzebub. It's like, dude, there's so many demons that it could be. There's so
Yeah,
many demons. It's crazy.
and plus the rabbit. She kept petting the rabbit in the basement. That also something's questioning. Like, I feel like the rabbit is important because remember, rabbits are a big thing with magic. If you have seen magic, rabbits are a huge thing for that. So I wonder if that rabbit that she's holding there and just petting, if that's important. And for the bug thing, I knew the bug thing was important too because I'm like, how can the camera just zoom into the bug? Like, there's no way that's just a random shot. Like, there has to be something important. So the bug and the rabbit important for some reason.
Yeah, I love the ambiguity, bro. Like, as a comic book fan, like, I have a lot of knowledge, but of course, this is an adaptation, right? So they can go a bunch of different ways with it. So all I can do, it's almost like my comic book knowledge almost like hinders my ability to figure out certain things sometimes, even though it helps me figure out a bunch of
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
like figuring out that Agnes was Agatha Harkness from the very first episode. But it's like there's so many different possibilities, right? But let's jump back to the very beginning of the episode and work our way back, right?
Awesome. Let's go.
So I love the Modern Family vibes. Elizabeth Olsen does an incredible job acting in all of these different moments.
She
She
does good.
perfectly captures all of these different sitcoms. And I love that the intro for this episode of WandaVision was this different version of the Office theme, which is awesome.
Nice.
I thought
Yeah.
it was amazing, bro. I love The Office, and the fact that Randall Park is playing Jimmy Woo, who played Asian Jim on The Office. Dude, I swear it'll never happen, right? But I will shit myself if Jimmy Woo gets into the hex, and when he goes through the hex, it turns out to be John Krasinski, and John Krasinski is now White Jim. For the Office fans, you know what I'm talking about. I would lose my mind if that happened. I hope it doesn't, because I think there'll be way too deep cuts for some people. But man, I would laugh my ass off.
And plus, to add about the intro as well, I did not know it was an Office restaurant until I saw a YouTube review. I was like, oh, okay, then I know it's a buzz because I never got into the Office or Modern Family. So I'm like, I assume it was like a Modern Family type of intro, but when I find out, it makes total sense. But if you guys have not checked details on what happens in the intro, there are scenes that say, "We know what you're doing. Everything is an illusion." Those things are also key to the cinematography. I just want to give again props to that of how detailed they go with those intros, where they say, "We know what you're doing," with some type of stickers type of thing, like for the fridge and everything. It looks amazing.
Yeah, like there's so many references. Like all the dialogue means something. Everything in the background means something. When Wanda wakes up in bed and she wakes up and she's still in the Scarlet Witch costume from the day before, if you look at the pillow that would be Vision's pillow,
It's the
it's
high eyes.
outlined in like the hex format, which is a reference to the hex itself. So it's like there's so many deep cuts in like the patterns of like curtains, the furniture, like it's
Oh yeah.
crazy, man.
And then supposed to add about the pillow, those little hex things are aiming at her head, and it's showing that, like, we are watching you. Like, it's showing that we are seeing what you're doing.
Yeah, lights like Don Cheadle goes into the hex and turns into Terrence Howard. That would be funny as shit. Dude, Nova, I also was hoping that when Kat Dennings goes into the hex that she would be some like
So-
waitress from that time. I would have lost my mind, man.
I was
That
gonna
would've
add
been
into
awesome.
that clown type of circus thing. Very lackluster. I was expecting more.
That's fair.
It was like cool. It was just something for them to say, "Oh, there's a escape artist," but then she did escape. Okay, cool. But then it was a circus type of thing. So like, what was it really for? The whole escape type of route, like the whole circus, the clowns. It was just there for probably good for 5 minutes scene, and that's it. So it felt like very useless. It was like, oh, I just expected more out of that scene.
Yeah. I also expected more from that, but I mean it's all meant to be
Just
a
comedy.
distraction, right?
Yeah.
I think it's all Agatha just trying to keep Vision away from his wife because everything going on with Wanda right now is very much like how possession works in that mythology, right? You start off by breaking the human down mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? And then after the end, this episode literally ends with the possession. So that was something that I bless you.
Thank
That
you.
was something that I really, really enjoyed. That you got to see those stages of Wanda pretty much breaking down, right? Like we've seen over all of these episodes of her powers glitching in and out. And let's talk about that, right? So she gets out of bed, she tries to ignore the kids, she goes into the kitchen, and the milk, the cereal, and a bunch of other things in the house is constantly switching between time periods. Billy and Tommy are playing a game. It switches to GameCube. It switches to
To
Atari.
Astro.
It switches to
Yeah, to
Uno.
Astro.
It switches to the Nintendo Wii. So it's constantly switching between all of these different time periods, and it feels like the steps of possession to me, just breaking her down mentally and emotionally and all of these different things. So man, and Pedro brings up watching Billy and Tommy getting stronger throughout the episode and Agatha realizing it. Billy talking about his headache, much like Professor X when he was young, talking about his headaches because his powers is expanding. He's connecting to the minds of everyone in the hex,
In the town,
and
yep.
he doesn't understand it. He doesn't even understand that the reason why he can't read Agatha's thoughts is simply because she's a powerful witch and she's blocking them.
But I love of how they noticed that, or technically of how he noticed that, because he's like, I can't read your mind, it's nothing, and they noticed that. And when Wanda went into the house and she saw the sandwiches being half eaten, and then she said, "Wait, where are the kids?" Is when she questioned that, and then that's when she said, "Oh, they're down in the basement," and then it's because she was leading her into the basement. She wanted her to go down there for a reason and to see what's going on, so she could, put the spell on her. But like, she planned it so well. So technically, like you said in the beginning of the review, Wanda was never the one in charge of this whole live television type of aspect. It was all Agnes, the one leading her into it, just like she did. We also saw her back in episode 1 with the magic trick. She was also the one doing that with the magic trick as well. Like, she was in every single episode doing something with it.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see, like, I hope, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna get this in the season finale, but I need to see the deal that Wanda makes.
Oh, yeah.
To make all of this happen. Whether she made it directly with Agatha or with Agatha to be with Mephisto or Nightmare, whatever it is, because she doesn't remember. So it's obvious that Agatha erased her memory. So it's crazy, man. Yeah, the Yo Gabba Gabba
I did not expect that.
Easter egg, I was like, this is weird. You showing us all of these weird creatures, because I overanalyze everything, right? So it's like, are you telling me that there's 4 demons? Because that could be the case.
So that's what I was gonna bring up, and perfectly said, because when they said there's Yo Gabba Gabba, there's 4 people, and that means there's 4 monsters, meaning possible 4 demons, 4 devils. So it's possible with it, and maybe also acknowledging Phase 4. That goes to be a reference to Phase 4 as well. I don't know, but it shows of the what details and reference they bring up to the show, because Yo Gabba Gabba was part of that time, because my niece was watching Yo Gabba Gabba and it was annoying watching that. But just to see that reference, I was like, oh, I remember that. Wait, what? Why are y'all showing that? Because we also had the trailer. I'm sorry, not trailer. We also had a commercial about Nexus as well. What did you think about that, James?
Okay, so I don't want to get there just yet.
Okay,
Let's
sorry.
hold off, because there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to say about that
All right.
Nexus commercial. But I want to bring up what Pedro said. So in that interview, right, where Wanda's talking to the camera, and the interviewer responds to her,
Yes.
and literally says, "Do you think maybe this is what you deserve?"
And she
It's like,
said, "You're not
well, what the
supposed to
fuck
answer."
does that mean? You know what I mean? I mean, they're not, right?
Yeah.
Like the people filming shouldn't be talking to you. That's not
Yep.
how the sitcom works. So it's like, what does that mean? Like, maybe you do deserve it, but why do they think that Wanda deserves it? Why does Agatha think that Wanda deserves whatever is happening? Because Agatha is in control. It's been her all along. So it's like, what does that mean?
But I think she's lying. She is breaking her mindset. She is breaking her. She's trying to put her in a place that it make her believe that's her fault, but it's really not. But trying to make her believe where so she could lose control, much easier to control Wanda when she has her type of firewall down. Much easier to control Wanda and much easier to get access and use her powers. Maybe Agnes needs Wanda to use her powers to open a book, open a portal or something.
So, Chris, I didn't notice that. It sounded like a dude to me. It didn't sound like her voice pitched down, but that's interesting though. But Catherine Hahn, like, she was amazing throughout this entire episode. Like, watching that montage at the end, watching her switch between emotions, she's such a great actress, and I'm glad they picked her to be Agatha Harkness on this show. But yeah, I didn't notice if it was her voice pitched down. I'm sure you guys are right. I saw the episode twice, and I just assumed that it was a guy for some reason. Like, she changed her voice to be like a male voice for some reason, but it could definitely be her voice pitched down. But what else did I want to talk about here before we get into the
Oh,
Nexus commercial?
how did you feel about the Darcy with Vision car ride? Like him finding out about his truth, like about his past, and why Wanda hided that is because it's because he died twice. How do you feel that conversation? And Darcy saying like, "Yeah, you died twice. You was made of Ultron. There was a guy named Jarvis before you. With all that. How do you feel about it? Because I'm happy they finally found out about his past. It's technically like a person that lost his, technically his mindset or technically amnesia."
Yeah, I really like that actually. I feel like Vision handled it the way a being like Vision would handle it, right? Like, it's all processing, right? Like, I used to be an AI, and then I was actually turned into a huge weapon for the end of the world, right? And then he's like, "Well, what am I now?" And Darcy doesn't have an answer for him, but this is a great way for Vision to discover himself. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that they brought it up in chat. Nova brought it up, and someone else brought it up. But the roadblocks and everything is very, very Truman Show. So Truman Show, and I love that aspect of it. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm very curious to see the being that Vision becomes now. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's always going to be the same type of person at the core, where he's this kind-hearted person that wants to save people, because that's what he's trying to do, right? Even against the love of his life, he wants to go up against her to save these thousands of people stuck in Westview. You know what I mean? So I think he's always going to be Vision, but I can't wait to see the hero that he becomes with this new perspective and lease on life.
And plus, I'm happy that he finally figured out, like, you know what? I can just leave and just transport through the door and just leave.
Yeah, it's like, why am I waiting here?
Yeah, it's like, because it was funny how for the second or third time he was talking to the camera, and then he was questioning, like, wait, why am I talking to you guys? I could just get up and leave. I'm like, yeah, and you just left Darcy too, because Darcy was like, oh, okay, I guess I could just stay here. I'm like, Yeah, you could.
And Pedro, you are absolutely right. Darcy is the audience character explaining the
Yes.
MCU to people
Oh,
that need refreshers on the MCU and just don't know what's going on. So it's like I'm definitely on board with that, and I love that. Edlin, definitely, like, Agatha is keeping Wanda in her feelings. Again, I think it's all a part of the stages of possession, like I was talking about before. And then right at the end of the episode, she is weak enough to actually be possessed by Agatha. It's crazy.
our girl Darcy is the version of Michael Pena Lewis. You know, telling the story of the
That
characters.
would be dope.
So because that's what I'm finding out, because it just put two and two together. Like Darcy's technically, you know, she said herself, like, I was watching the TV show of WandaVision, but
Hmm.
I came and joined and everything, and like she was speaking as a perspective of us as the audience, and she was speaking it as telling her, you know, Vision the story of Ultron, the Avengers, Thanos, and everything. And Michael Pena in Ant-Man does the same thing with the whole flashback story, except without a flashback, Darcy does the same thing.
Yeah, and I want to keep going into what Edlin is saying right now,
Yeah,
because
go for it.
this is really really great shit. But it's like keeping Vision away from Wanda and keeping Monica from bringing Wanda back is all a part of keeping her in this dark place, keeping her in this dark place to force her to expand the hex even more, forcing her to stay here to keep the kids, to keep their kids and watching their powers grow even more. And to Chris's point, how does Darcy know all this information? I don't know. I don't know if it matters. Obviously, she's been paying attention to the events that have been happening. Like, obviously, like, Infinity War and the events of Endgame would be huge news. So I'm guessing, like, and also, like, because she's like hacked into Sword, maybe she's like done research on all of these like classified things that no other people know.
And
I don't
probably,
know, man.
when that happened was 2018, so it's been 5 years for them, because they're in the year 2023. So probably it's public news already, where it didn't have to be classified information no more. So they should let the public know, like, hey. But I think like it's weird that she knows what happened about Vision. Like, hey, he died twice. Like maybe about Thanos, they know, and
Yeah,
about.
who's telling her this information?
Yeah, like how do you know? Okay, you know about Ultron that made Vision. Okay, that's understandable. Like that's something that probably the world knows. But how do you know that Vision died twice? How do you know that Wanda's the one that killed Vision first, and then Thanos rewind time? Like, how's it that you know the exact information? Like, are you playing the audience, like us as the audience? That's how you know the information. Are you playing meta as like 4-4 breaking, like Deadpool type of style? That's what I'm curious to know. Like, I have no problem. I'm enjoying this, but like, how do you know this info? Or maybe she's being technically like another demon being controlled. I don't know. Maybe I'm just putting too much information, but who knows?
I mean, that's the great thing about WandaVision though, and this story. Like, there's so many things that can go so many different ways. Like someone brought up in chat, Agatha killing the dog to force the kids to try to force them to grow up even more. It's like they would be a better sacrifice with greater powers. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things. But let's get into this Nexus commercial. These commercials are phenomenal, bro. Like, these commercials showing us the different perspectives from like Wanda's past trauma, her current trauma, the things that she could do to try to escape her trauma, the reason why she's still stuck in her trauma, still stuck in this world. And I love this the Nexus, right? Because a Nexus is essentially a portal, right, to another world, an alternate reality. And I love this. You know what I mean? Like, I legit like wrote down the entire commercial. Are you feeling depressed? Like the world is going on without you? Do you want to just be left alone? Ask your doctor about Nexus. Like, it's I love this commercial, bro. Like, it's dope. Chat, I want to know your thoughts on the Nexus commercial. Like, what do you think it means? Because I feel like it could mean like a bunch of different things. Vash, what about you?
I love the commercial. It felt like it just. I love how the transition be sometimes though, because you're just watching the show, then boom, commercial. Like, i- is this an ad, or is this an actual commercial? Like, what's going on here? But then it shows that it pops up because, like James just said, the details they put into the word of line, the script itself, saying that, do you have a headache? Is everything okay? You should go to a doctor and everything, like James just said. And it's important because and then leads up to the end of the episode of how your mind is being controlled the town people. Wanda's being controlled now by Agnes. So was Wanda a victim the whole time? To like Monica said, and like Monica said in episode 3, telling director Hayward, like, hey, maybe she's a victim herself. Maybe someone's behind the scenes that's doing the actual pulling the strings. So all that is key.
Yeah, bro. Like, I love this. Side effects include feeling your feelings, confronting your truth, seizing your destiny, and possibly more depression. You should not take Nexus unless your doctor has cleared you to move on with your life. Nexus, because the world doesn't revolve around you. Or does it? Like, I love this, bro.
And plus, to add to that,
are such deep cuts.
That the episode title is called Breaking the Fourth Wall as well. And that is important.
And Agatha does that throughout the entire episode. Like, instantly, the moment she comes on screen with the kids,
she stares at the camera now.
She looks directly at the camera. And it's like, that's not a surprise for us. Because, again, we always knew that she had a greater influence over this. We just didn't know to what extent, right? So,
and
go ahead.
I was going to add is that when she came over, Wanda opened the door. It just came new because we have said it throughout the past episodes that she always comes right on time. It's either Wanda doing it or Agnes doing it because they come at the right time. But then she said, oh, I could take the kids. Don't worry, your mom needs a break and everything. So she takes the kids because she's planning this. But at the same time, she tells the kids, oh, the kids, don't worry, I don't bite. But then when she talks to the camera later, she said, I've only bitten a kid once. At first,
and then looks directly at the camera. I'm like...
It stares directly at the camera. At first, I thought it was a joke. But then, when later, like, at the end of the episode, we find out the truth of who she is, or which and everything, then it makes me question, whose kid did you actually bite? Because there's no way you just said that as a joke in the beginning of the episode. Now that we know who you are, who did you bite as a kid?
And that's what makes Catherine Hahn such a great actress in this show, right? Because you don't know if she's joking or not. Like, she has the same face whether she murdered someone or didn't.
Yes, I just bought a
She's
kid.
Just
I'm
chilling
like,
and then looks at the camera. But Nova, being a Nexus, means she's the one constant, anchor you back to your reality or the reality of your choice. Like, this Nexus commercial and all of the commercials are just so telling of what's going on around Wanda, and I love it. Like, I hate seeing comments online where it's like people don't like the show because it's constantly centered around like the sitcoms and like they don't get the commercials. I'm like, look deeper, man. Look deeper. There's so many hidden elements about depression and all of these different things on WandaVision, and like, just look deeper and you'll get it. You know what I mean?
And Bounce just said it's because she's a witch, and the folklore of witches, they
sense.
eat kids. Yeah, that makes total sense. Now that you put it in that retrospect, makes sense because, like Jim said earlier, the Witch West of the West, so it makes total sense. Like, she eats kids. Yeah, it makes total sense now.
Yeah, and we have no idea how old Agatha is, right? Like, we have no idea how old she's going to be in the MCU. So it could have, who knows how many kids she's devoured.
That is very true. It just makes more questions to the show, and again, I just want to give props to the writing, because to know the structure, the writing, and the producer, they have done a fantastic job to know how to lead way for each episode, how to connect the strings, how to connect those type of references is amazing. So I gotta give props again to the writing, because it makes sure the comic book lore, the characters, that is very important.
Yeah. Next thing that I wanted to talk about was all of the Monica stuff, right? Because we all knew that at some point we were going to get Photon, right? We all knew that Monica was going to get her powers. In the last episode, it was teased even more because Darcy was telling her, you've already been through the Hex twice. It has completely overwritten your body on a molecular level. And we all knew that Monica was going to go back through the Hex and she would eventually get her powers. But before we get there,
yes, thank you.
One thing that I wanted to talk about, and our theory was completely debunked.
Totally debunked.
The aerospace engineer, it's not Reed, it's not Blue Marvel, it's just some random person in the military, Major what was it, Goodner?
Yes.
Major Goodner. It's just some random person. She's not a comic book character. She's completely made up for WandaVision. I'm like,
I was disappointed.
You are teasing me, bro. I'm also disappointed. Go ahead.
Like, these are like the two things I disappointed about the episode, which is, guys, not back then, not just because it just had expectations, and just because I disappointed don't mean I'm gonna put a lower rating, because I hate when people do that, like, just because people expected something and then put lower rating. But one, it was a circus. Two, it was me, James, and Ray, and our other guests that has come on. We say, oh, it's probably Blue Marvel, probably some type of genius that we'll probably get reference to, or maybe, who knows, maybe is Abateus Cho, I think that's how you say his name. Maybe like any other smart character type of hero that we might see in the future for Young Avengers or other cosmic type of hero. Cool. No, it's just some random person like, hey, did we get your car? Did we get your vehicle to how you want it? Like, yeah, okay, you cool. You're part of the army. I guess you're smart and you got some type of specs, cool. But I knew that car was not gonna go through because when she said, "Oh, smooth sailing," I'm like, when you say smooth sailing, you know goddamn what things are not gonna go through smooth. That's called prediction. That's called foreshadowing. When you say something, when people say, "Oh, we hope it'll go through," then okay, wait, it will, it might. But when you say smooth sailing, like, yeah, that car's not gonna go through.
Yeah, I also didn't expect it to go through, and I loved that entire sequence of her pushing through the hex, her being split into the 4 different versions of herself.
That was beautiful.
Her listening to dialogue from the first Captain
Fury
Marvel movie
2.
from when she was young. I agree with you, Nova. I definitely think that Monica Rambeau is going to be a hybrid of Photon and Spectrum, because from what we saw in the episode, we saw her use her electromagnetic abilities, being able to see the electromagnetic fields where she could see the hex powers in the air, right? So that's a Spectrum power, but I think like the costume and some of the other things that they're going to lean into will be more Photon based, and I can't wait to see in Captain Marvel 2 Photon, Spectrum, whatever they're going to call her on the show, because she's had so many different names. But I can't wait to see her square up against Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel 2, because that's definitely going to happen.
Once I saw her having that type of outfit of an astronaut, I knew like she's gonna get her powers right at the moment, because her astronaut type of suit was literally white and black. And I'm like, we're about to get her powers right now, like in a good 2 minutes, because I knew that car was not gonna go through. That car, that hex ate the car. That hex literally said, "I'm gonna just eat you a boom," just spit the car out. Like, oh, okay, guess it didn't want to eat the car. And then I knew once she got out, she about to run through that gate. She about to run to the hex. And then Jim was like, "No, don't." I'm like, "Why are you screaming? You ain't gonna do nothing." But it was just funny just to watch her run through. And again, to what James said, seeing that the whole type of different spectrum, and then her running there, and then that could run a marathon. Again, people did not notice it because it was just cut and just a nice edit. But she ran from the beginning of town to the center of town, because Wanda lives in the center of town. She ran a marathon, and then she got to Wanda, and she literally got thrown by Wanda and then landed. And if anybody did not see her powers, but it had that bluish white spectrum, was so beautiful. Cool. So, and her eyes are like that bluish whitish, and it's amazing, like sky blue. So nice to see her powers and everything. And I'm happy that she didn't really question it fully. She's like, okay, I see that I got something, but she didn't really question like, oh,
she's smart, because Darcy already told her if you go through again, you're going to be changed even more. She's also smart enough to know that Carol Danvers was changed and became Captain Marvel because of the Space Stone. So this is the same thing. Like, you're messing around with the power from the Infinity Stone.
Yep.
She knew the risks, and I can't wait to see her use her abilities. Like, Monica Rambeau is going to be such an amazing character going forward, and I can't wait to see what they do. I think the actress does a really good job. She's this gorgeous black woman with this amazing hair. I love her hair, and I think she's amazing, man.
That's props to her hair. Her hair never looks her hair looks perfect all the time. Like, I'm like, I don't know who's your hair into makeup, but whoever is doing a beautiful job, because that hair is looking flawless in every scene where it doesn't look that. And somehow, right after she got out the whole type of outfit and the whole type of astronaut, it looked almost the same. It's like, technically, usually after when you wear like a whole thing to cover your hair, it usually gets messed up. Or somehow it went, whew, perfect. So I'm like,
that happens in everything.
I'm like, cool, I guess, sure. But to add about that fight scene, Agnes came at the perfect time. She saw what's going on outside the window. She's like, you know what? This girl Monica, I don't like her because she's trying to get Wanda back to normal. I don't like this. I don't like this. So
exactly like what Edlin was saying earlier on. Like, Agnes is trying to keep the people away from Wanda that can pull her from the edge.
And then that's what she did.
Keep her in this spot.
She said, you know what? I'm going to go grab her real quick. She said, no, stay away from the town. Like, and then it was grabbing her and everything. And Monica kept pushing everything. And I'm happy she didn't give up and everything. So I'm curious to know how episode is going to be with Vision and Monica, and if anybody else is joined who know Doctor Strange, like, it's still up in the air. So it's very interesting, because I hopefully with Vision, because Vision said it in an interview a couple weeks ago, saying that he's happy he did the show because he worked with somebody that he's been wanting to. Hopefully it was not Darcy. Like, I get Darcy is a cool character and everything, but hopefully it's somebody much bigger. So
I
that's
still think it's Benedict Cumberbatch, man. I think
yeah,
Doctor Strange is
yeah.
going to show up
It
at the
has to be.
very end of it, and I think that's going to be the huge cameo. One of the last things that I wanted to talk about real quick. Where was it? I lost my notes. Oh, when Monica and Jimmy Woo find out about what was it? Codename Cataract, where they find out that Sword was actually trying to
Yes.
literally rebuild Vision and make him a sword weapon, which is exactly what he didn't want in his will. So that would have been crazy if they actually succeeded. So I'm glad that they didn't, because I still think that Hayward's a Skrull. Can you imagine if the Skrulls had Vision as a weapon, bro? That would be insane.
But then
I was just gonna say real quick, like Codename Cataract, it could be like a nothing Easter egg, but it's actually like a Marvel versus Capcom like level
oh, okay.
in one of the games. So I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, where have I heard Cataract before? It's from Marvel versus Capcom.
It makes sense because I heard of that saying as well, but I played the games, but I never took the lore. I took the lore of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, but never took the lore of Marvel vs. Capcom because I don't really care much for the lore. I just like the games. So, but and now it makes sense why. Because I heard, I'm like, why does it sound like a car, like a song? Like I feel like I heard from somewhere, but it makes total sense. But to add to what the chat was saying is that I'm very happy with how Monica and Wanda is with the fight and how it went through. But it also shows that the whole people, like the 5-6 people that was watching what's going on around with the mailman and the people that was walking around, they stop and watch. But I wonder if they stop and watch because it was part of the scene, like to not mess up the scene of Wanda, or is it because they was hoping that Monica gets her back into reality so they could escape this reality? So I'm curious to know what
Or
was it
both.
that's or both too.
You know, because we know that they have their own thoughts, even though Wanda kind of suppresses some of their thoughts.
Yeah.
But we know that they are thinking in the sunken place. We know that
Yes.
they're thinking at the exact same time that they're being controlled. So I think it could be both.
Oh, for sure.
And Nova brings up that cataracts impairs your vision, which is also something really, really cool.
Wow, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I love how Monica tried her best to try to tell Wanda, like, hey, Hayward was actually trying to, make Vision as a sentient type of weapon. And it kind of contradicts what Hayward is saying. I still am 50-50 with James there about the scroll. It could be half and half. It could go left or right. Like, again, he's a crossroads. So, but it's possible to scroll and everything, but it shows why Hayward really wanted Vision to come out. He was excited because he wanted his weapon to come back to him last week.
Yeah, shout out to chat for bringing up all the knowledge. Nova, thank you for being here. Chris, all you guys.
Yeah,
I really
likewise.
appreciate it. You guys are bringing the knowledge here. But Vash, do you have any final thoughts on this episode before we wrap for the night?
Of how Wanda was eating a cereal called Sugar Snaps. That's also really interesting as well.
Yes.
That she ate called Sugar Snaps, and that's because that was a reference to the Thanos snap, and also that the I guess what do you call it? The mascot was a clown, so I guess that's also a reference to the clown,
Yeah.
or maybe that's a reference to aka our purple friend Thanos. Could be either or.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think Doctor Strange is gonna pull up like Nick Fury. just pop up.
I wonder if Nick Fury's gonna pop up because we heard Nick Fury in the voiceover
He's
when
in space, remember?
yeah, but who knows? He probably will drop down and be like, hey, what the hell's going down on my planet right now with this whole purple not purple with this whole red
but
hex thing.
WandaVision takes place before Far From Home, and we know that he's been in space from Far From Home and way before then too.
But maybe his Nick Fury double will be calling him like, hey, there's
Talos?
something. Yeah, Talos. So like, hey, there's like a red hex going on in New Jersey, and it's expanding, and it's being caused by Wanda. So what do you want me to do? Like, I just hope we get seen about that with Talos or something. Like, more work to do here in Earth.
So Nova, right? Like, I hope that the aerospace engineer is someone else. Like, and I could be interpreting it wrong, right? Because from the past episodes, Monica brings up the fact that she has to speak to her engineer friend to get a vehicle of some kind. I could be wrong, but to get something to get them back into the hex. So when we saw Major Goodner, I just automatically assumed that that was the aerospace engineer. But to think that it could be like Talos's daughter, or it could still be Blue Marvel, it could still be someone else, that would be interesting. So
To add to what the chat was saying, what Pedro brought up, and that was my last thing I was gonna bring up, that when the milk was changing as well, back then a lot of milk cartons used to put missing kids,
yeah.
or any type of missing information. So in this carton, when it switched back to the second or third time, it put a missing kids. And again, it goes back to the reference that James brought up for the Spider-Man film 3. We know in the trailer and plus in the leaks that there's missing children.
Missing kids.
So there's probably going to be a reference to that as well. The kids will be missing. Kids around Earth will be missing. Who the hell knows where it's going to lead into. So it just depends. But I like how the reference shows that there's a missing kid. Who was the missing kid? If anybody zoom in so much, who knows if you can actually see in detail. But from what I saw on my screen, I couldn't tell who it was.
Yeah, I love Chris's comment. Agatha Harkness, I've come to bargain.
That would be funny if they actually use that reference there. Like, I'm kind of bargain. I want Wanda back.
But man, I don't know where any of this is gonna go, and I love that because
Same.
I'm usually the type of person that I see something, I sit here, I analyze it, and I've already figured it out, right? Like we talked about previously, when during the Flash with the whole Savitar thing, his second appearance, I already know who it was, exactly who it was. You know what I mean? That's how my brain works. I sit and I analyze absolutely everything.
Because
and with Wanda, right? And with WandaVision, like I get some things, but the fact that I don't know most things, I love it. I love that I'm confused. I love that I don't know what's actually happening. It's exhilarating. Like,
and that's the beautiful aspect. Like we always talk about when we do our manga reviews of Black Clover and My Hero, when we don't know what's gonna happen in the next chapter, in the next arc or something, because the good writing, it shows that it could go in any different type of avenues, the left field, Burger King, Wendy's, some type of chili, Applebee's. We don't know where it's gonna go on which place. I don't know. I'm using so much reference in this episode, so much food, but I don't know, probably I'm hungry, who the hell knows. But it shows of how well this writing is for this series, and it shows that we're passionate fans, me and James are, but we know how to critique, know how to analyze, but at the same time, like the chats here, they also help us in case we miss anything, and also to bring the discussion to us and add more to the whole discussion as a whole. But at the same time, I'm glad I don't know what's going to happen next week for episode 8 or 9, and I hope. Last week we spoke, or last Monday or last Friday, we spoke that we're getting an hour episode. We did not get an hour episode for episode 7. And I hope we do get one for episode 8 and 9. I want an hour episode. We need one. And if we don't, hey, still fine too. But I kind of would prefer to get an hour long episode. I would like it because I want more questions, more answers. And maybe, but at the same time, this might be the last 4-4 breaking type of sitcom episode since Wanda kind of got captured. So this might be the last one, and episode 8 and 9 might be normal episodes. That's just my guess. James?
Yeah, because we're moving officially into the 2010s in episode 8. So it's like,
yeah.
I wonder what sitcom that they'll reference. Like there's New Girl, that was really popular. Who knows like which way it can go. Like I'm curious to see what sitcom they'll do next. But yeah, I also think that they're kind of done with like the talking to the camera type of sitcom thing. But who knows, man? Like this show is absolutely phenomenal, and I love what Kevin Feige and the writers are doing. At the moment I saw the bird in Wanda's house, I knew that we lost Wiccan and Speed. Yeah, that was kind of something I saw too, because when the bird showed up the first time, I mean, it's the stork that brings the kids. So when we saw the stork again, it's like, well, they're taking the kids. So I thought that as well.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, bro.
I noticed it when there was a sandwich there and there was no kids at the house, or no kids. Hey, mom, nice to see you doing well. That's when I noticed it, but I didn't notice it because of Stoic. Nice guys.
Community too. Community is huge. Community is one of my favorite comedies, bro.
And plus, Brooklyn Nine-Nine was also a big one in the 2010s era, so I'm curious to know. But like I said, who knows if they might continue type of more sitcoms, or they might be the last one in this episode, because when I get captured, the people might break spell. Vision is gonna enter the ring. Like it's kind of like Smash Bros. Who's gonna enter the ring next? Like who's coming next? Like who's gonna be the next villain? Who's gonna be the next character that's gonna show up?
Yeah. Right before we started recording, like Chris, Vash, and I, we were talking about the fact that yes, we're obviously not getting three 1 hour episodes. This one was 30 minutes. So what we were talking about were, do we think that episode 8 will be 30 minutes and then episode 9 could be an hour and a half, or the
like
last
a movie,
two episodes could be an hour? Who knows? Nova also brings up Parks and Rec. That would be dope too. didn't Vision ask where are all the kids in town in like episode 3?
Oh, you
Yes,
did.
he did. And then we found out in the last episode that Wanda has actually just been keeping the kids asleep, completely docile in their beds,
Yeah.
which is psychotic when you think about it.
Yeah. She did mention to her brother Petrus that when they're not being used in the script or in the scene, they're in a sleep mode in a way, like it's like where your phone is, like in a sleep mode when it's not being used. So that's what happens. That those kids, those parents, where they're being in dials, just like when Vision went to the outskirts of town, those people were just doing slow movements, not really much of the part of the scene because they were still part of the story, Halloween theme, but not really much interaction.
Yeah. Man, this episode was so much fun. Like I said, there was so much to unpack. I love the reveal of Agatha at the end. I love the song. Catherine Hahn again, amazing performance. Just watching her like go through the different moments over the past 7 episodes and just showing how it's been her controlling everything all along. Monica getting her powers, becoming again photon, spectrum, whatever they're gonna call her. I hope they call her photon and then she'll have spectrum, the spectrum powers. I can't wait to see what else Darcy is going to do, what Vision is going to do, right? Because Vision is just this bystander in the show right now. So I can't wait to see him have like a much bigger impact, either against Wanda or against Agatha, however it's gonna go. There's so much to unpack. I want to know what's going on with Sword. I want to know what their plan is. They talked about burning Westview to the ground in an attempt to stop Wanda and save everyone else. So it's like, what's Sword's plan? Like, what's up with Hayward? So I'm just super excited for episode 8, super excited for the finale in episode 9. I just can't wait, man. Vash, do you have any other final thoughts?
My final thoughts on WandaVision, no, but for those that are curious to know our thoughts for Superman Lois, will be 2 reviews that we'll be doing next week for 2 TV shows. Will be WandaVision and Superman Lois. So we will do WandaVision last because that's the most probably big type of discussion we'll have. Superman Lois will be the first one about TV review because it comes out for Tuesday and it will be a 2 episode for those that are curious to know. It will be a 2-hour special for anybody who wants to kick back and watch it. Me and James will probably watch it on Discord that night, if anything, or maybe on that Wednesday as well. So definitely check out the tweets, check out the Twitter for any type of feedback or comments if you guys want to watch it with us.
Yeah, Nova brings up, like, if you notice during the Halloween episode, like, you saw a lot more parents and a lot more adults than kids. So it's like, who's taking the kids? Is it Agatha? Is it one of the demons taking the kids? Like, who knows? And yes, I also agree that Agatha Harkness should definitely get an Emmy for the show. Like, she's amazing.
Yes, this whole show should deserve a whole Emmy for writing, for cinematography, for Wanda herself. Elizabeth Olsen has been amazing in this role, and Agatha Harkness should definitely get an Emmy. They've been playing such an amazing job in this role, in this whole series.
Yeah, and Edlin, to your point, like, I hope that they had nice dreams. I don't think they did, because much like the adults, they all feel what Wanda feels. And yes, we could say that Wanda has more empathy to the kids, and she used more of her powers to like give them nice dreams. But I don't know. I really don't know.
Maybe they saw the death scene of Vision happening on a whole rewind.
I don't know, man. Like, I think I think it would be a mixture of happy thoughts and then Wanda's like extreme depression.
Well, maybe
and all
it could
of the
be
stuff that she's
happy
been
thoughts
through.
because remember, if it's Nightmare, Nightmare usually gives people what they want. Like maybe if
That's
people,
true.
maybe if it's people in the town that wants to become like a millionaire, some people are like millionaires, have stocks, have a whole type of franchise or whatever they want. So if it's Nightmare, they give them happy thoughts. So if it's Nightmare type of influence, maybe it's him.
Yeah, man. Like I said, it can go a lot of different ways, and I just can't wait for these final 2 episodes. I'm gonna be sad, but I'm very excited to get these final 2 episodes,
But hey,
guys.
Well, once they're done, you get Falcon and the Winter Soldier the next following week. So don't worry, you're good.
That's pure facts. Like, I'm getting Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Flash. We're gonna get Invincible soon after that. Like, we're gonna have so much content for you guys. It's going to be insane. But this was an amazing episode. As always, chat, thank you so much for being involved. Thank you so much for all of your theories and everything jumping into the conversation. Vash, where can the people find you online?
You can find me on Legendy Vash everywhere else on Twitter and IG. Thank you guys for checking out Villains all the time. As a guy, I appreciate it. If you guys have any question, any comments, any things that you guys want us to cover in the future, definitely put the hashtag C4SVillains is where we'll best find it, or just comment down the tweets when James has the tweet for Careful Spoilers on the next stream of the video. So definitely that's the best way to answer any viewer question, because if you guys have that like ahead of time, maybe that could be a main topic, or maybe a comic book recommendation. Those things are very useful for us in the future, and thank you very much on how much support you guys been giving us, because we're only 6 episodes in of the shows, and it's very glad, and we cannot wait to make more in the future.
Yeah, like you said, Vash, like, please give us any recommendations you guys have. If you want us to review a comic series or like a quick run, DM us, let us know. We will definitely do it on the show. Any ideas you guys have for main topics, like, this is as much as a show for you guys as it is for us. Like, we're here, we decided again to do this show live so that we can talk to you guys about all of these things. So please let us know what you guys want to talk about, and we will do it on the show. Like I said about recommending comics, we're gonna do that once a month for now. And if you guys want more, we will definitely do more, so stay tuned for that. Follow us on our socials. All of that stuff will be in the description below. And yeah, guys, thank you so much again for watching this episode, and we will see you guys on the next one.